shall begin. Insignificant her means, infinite her work. On a great field of shapeless consciousness, in little finite strokes of mind and sense, an endless truth she endlessly unfolds. And we have to remind each other that we are in the book of the Traveler of the Worlds, Canto 6, the kingdoms and godheads of the greater life. So we have a long way to go. This is Canto 6, and there are 15 cantos in this book. So we are seeing that the means in this plane of existence are rather insignificant, and yet her work is infinite. And we see that on a great field, shapeless consciousness, a shapeless consciousness, interesting, in little finite strokes of mind and sense. So we see a field of shapeless consciousness. We see little finite strokes of mind and sense. But what's happening? An endless truth she endlessly unfolds. Now, Sri Aurobindo tells us in the foundations of Indian culture, the supreme truths are neither the rigid conclusions of logical reasoning, nor the affirmations of creedal statement, but fruits of the soul's experience. Intellectual truth is only one of the doors to the outer precincts of the temple. Imagine, to the outer precincts of the temple. So intellectual truth is almost nothing for us. And Mother says that the truth is something living, moving, expressing itself at each second. And it is one way of approaching the Supreme. Now, in her collected works, same volume 15, she also says this very important statement, two of them actually. The truth is not linear, but global. It is not successive, but simultaneous. Therefore, it cannot be expressed in words. It has to be lived. And lastly, truth is a difficult and strenuous conquest. One must be a real warrior to make this conquest, a warrior who fears nothing, neither enemies nor death. For with or against everybody, with or without a body, the struggle continues and will end by victory. Now notice Mother's comment here, with or without a body. So we know that she and Sri Aurobindo are working on the formation of the new body. So, we'll continue. A timeless mystery works out in time because we live in time. We do not live in the timeless, and yet a timeless mystery works out in our time, and he capitalizes the T. The greatness she has dreamed, her acts have missed. Yes, of course. Her labor is a passion and a pain, a rapture and pang, her glory and her curse. And yet she cannot choose, but labors on. Her mighty heart forbids her to desist. Now we see all of these oxymorons here, these incredible things that her labor, the labor of the creatrix, nature, capital N, Gaia, Her labor is a passion and a pain, a rapture and pang, her glory and her curse. And yet she cannot choose, but she has to labor on because, and here's the line, her mighty heart forbids her to desist. And now we're going to go on a little bit more. As long as the world lasts, her failure lives. Interesting. But it's the failure, of course, of these kingdoms and godhoods of the greater life. Astonishing and foiling reason's gaze. Now, when foiling is understood properly, it means prevented from being successful. So she is foiling this gaze of reason. And I want to share a few things from Sri Aurobindo on reason, because it's very important here. You see that reason is only a messenger, a representative or a shadow of a greater consciousness beyond itself, which does not need to reason because it is all and knows all that is, all that it is. In the human cycle, he says, reason is in its nature an imperfect light with a large but still restricted mission. And then again in the human cycle, he tells us reason can only establish half-lights and a provisional order. So we continue. We are seeing that as long as the world lasts, her failure lives, astonishing and foiling reason's gaze, a folly and a beauty unspeakable. Here we have a folly, an act of foolishness, and an unspeakable beauty. A superb madness of the will to live, a daring, a delirium of delight. A delirium is a kind of, in this case, I would say, a violent excitement or emotion, not a temporary disorder of the mental faculties at all. That's usually the definition of delirium. Now, this is her being's law, its sole resource. She sates, though satisfaction never comes. Now, sate is to fully satisfy a desire, or an appetite, we could say. She sates, though satisfaction never comes. What does she sate? Her hungry will to lavish everywhere her many imaged fictions of the self. And thousand fashions of one reality. So this creative being that he's speaking of in this plane of existence, we see a world she made touched by truth's fleeting hem, not the garment at all, just the hem. A world cast into a dream of what it seeks, an icon of truth, a conscious mystery's shape. Yes, it's a dream of what it seeks. It's an icon only, and we talked about icons many times before, but we have to remember that an icon is a two-dimensional representation, never three-dimensional. So it's an icon of truth. It's a conscious mystery shape. Now he says next, it lingered not like the earth mind, hemmed in solid barriers of apparent fact. It dared to trust the dream mind and the soul, Now, this is very interesting because our earth mind, our ignorance in which we live in this lower hemisphere of body, life, and mind, is hemmed in. And we cannot truly understand anything. We are totally ignorant until we can rise into the spiritual planes of existence, where we will see everything that is occurring on the earth in a totally different light. We will see pain even as ecstasy, ananda. We will see torture as a movement of delight. And these things are very, very difficult to grasp with the human mind. But we see that it lingered not like the earth mind, hemmed in solid barriers of apparent fact. Well, that is science. Only what is available to the five senses can be true. But these are actually solid barriers of apparent fact. And here in this plane of existence, it even dared to trust the dream mind and the soul. Vladimir, since you're with us, can you add some things? Would be nice.
Well, I'm in the airport. I do not know how it is with the noise even, although it is kind of cutting the noise most probably. Truly speaking, this is so releasing, so relieving from all that what we've been through, to come back to Sri Aurobindo. This is what I wanted to share. It's like a honeycomb coming straight into your heart, and you can really rest and find again yourself without forcing yourself to be something or to say something which is meaningful in the situation which is so challenging. The academia is very challenging situation.
Very challenging. So this empiric life that science has been so attached to for centuries is now beginning to change. Science has accepted that there is a consciousness. Okay, they're not calling it God, but it doesn't matter. And we see now in this continuing canto a hunter of spiritual verities. Now, verities are principles or beliefs that are true. And it's often, we could say, an enduring truth. Still only thought or guessed or held by faith. Well, that's most important, because these spiritual verities that it is hunting are only thought or guessed or held by faith. And then Sri Aurobindo has two extraordinary lines. It's seized in imagination and confined a painted bird of paradise in a cage. This greater life is enamored of the unseen. Now, enamored here is filled or inflamed with love. And the unseen, the you, is capitalized. So I want to read you something from the Mandukya Upanishad that's quoted in the Life Divine. The unseen, with whom there can be no pragmatic relations, unseizable, featureless, unthinkable, undesignable by name, whose substance is the certitude of oneself, in whom world existence is stilled, who is all peace and bliss. That is the self. That is what must be known. this greater life is enamored of the unseen. It calls to some highest light beyond its reach. It can feel the silence that absolves the soul. And Sri Aurobindo has so much to say about silence, because when he had that experience of being with Lily to quiet the mind, he entered into a silence where there was nothingness, emptiness, transparency, the transcendent. And in that state, there is no movement of the mind or the vital, or there can be a great stillness which no surface movement can pierce or offer. And he says in Letters on Yoga, in complete silence, there are either no thoughts or thoughts come, but they are felt as something coming from outside and not disturbing the silence. And I remember when I used to be with Kemi, she told me that she didn't still her mind. She said, I let them come, but I don't pay any attention to them. So that's another way. They can flow through the brain, but you pay no attention to them. Or the other way is keeping them out completely. So I'll go on just a little bit more. It feels a savior touch, a ray divine. Beauty and good and truth, its Godheads are. It is near to heavenlier heavens than earth's eyes can see, a direr darkness than man's life can bear. It has kinship with the demon and the God. Well, this is extremely important, isn't it? So we have to go back and see what's happening. It's a greater life, of course, and it is captivated or filled with love of the unseen. And it's even calling to some highest light beyond its reach. And it can even feel the silence that absolves the soul. It feels a savior touch, a ray divine. Beauty and good and truth, its Godheads are. So the Godheads of this plane of existence are very high. Beauty, extremely important. Good and truth are the Godheads of this place. And it is near to heavenlier heavens than earth's eyes can see, because earth is still blinded. It has no capacity to see the heavens as yet. A dire darkness that man's life can bear. Dire here means something that causes involving or involves great fear or suffering, something dreadful, something terrible. It has kinship with the demon and the God. So kinship means it's related to both the demon and the God. And why is that? Because in this plane of existence, the gods are quite close, because it's the kingdoms and Godheads of the greater life. So we'll go on just a little more, because this is so powerful here and so beautiful. What this plane is seeking, what it's urgently aspiring for. So a strange enthusiasm has moved its heart. It hungers for heights It passions for the supreme. Yes, its heart is moved by this enthusiasm that hungers for the heights, passions for the supreme. It hunts for the perfect word, the perfect shape. It leaps to the summit thought, the summit light. Look at those lines: hungers, hunts, leaps, kinship. For by the form, the formless is brought close, and all perfection fringes the absolute. A child of heaven who never saw his home, its impetus meets the eternal at a point. It can only near and touch. It cannot hold. It can only strain towards some bright extreme. Its greatness is to seek and to create. We'll go over those few things, and then I'll ask Nile to read again because he read last week. So we see that it hungers for heights, it passions for the supreme. It's continually hunting for this perfect word, this perfect shape. And it even leaps to the summit thought, the summit light. For by the form, the formless is brought close. Now, the formless has no form. And when the divine wants to manifest form, he does it from the formless as a manifestation. So we see by the form, the formless is brought close. So now, through this form, by this form, the formless is brought close. And all perfection fringes the absolute. Remember, we saw the only him. So now it fringes the absolute. What is it? It's a child of heaven who never saw his home. Its impetus. Impetus here is an impelling force, an impulse. Its impetus meets the eternal at a point. But, and now we see here these next three lines. It can only near and touch. It cannot hold. It can only strain towards some bright extreme. But its greatness is to seek and to create. And we will see a lot more next week when we continue this passage. So, Nilay, can you read from the beginning?
Yes. Insignificant her means, infinite her work, on a great field of shapeless consciousness, in little finite strokes of mind and sense, an endless truth she endlessly unfolds, a timeless mystery works out in time. The greatness she has dreamed her acts have missed. Her labor is a passion and a pain, a rapture and pang, her glory and her curse. And yet she cannot choose but labors on. Her mighty heart forbids her to desist. As long as the world lasts, her failure lives, astonishing and foiling reason's gaze, a folly and a beauty unspeakable, a superb madness of the will to live, a daring, a delirium of delight. This is her being's law, its sole resource. She sates, though satisfaction never comes, her hungry will to lavish everywhere, her many-imaged fictions of the self and thousand fashions of one reality. A world she made touched by truth's fleeing hem, a world cast into a dream of what it seeks, an icon of truth, a conscious mystery's shape. It lingered not like the earth mind hemmed in solid barriers of apparent fact. It dared to trust the dream mind and the soul. A hunter of spiritual verities, still only thought or guessed or held by faith, it seized in imagination and confined, a painted bird of paradise in a cage. This greater life is enamored of the unseen. It calls to some highest light beyond its reach. It can feel the silence that absolves the soul. It feels a savior touch, a ray divine. Beauty and good and truth its godheads are. It's near to heavenlier heavens than earth's eyes see, a direr darkness than man's life can bear. It has kinship with the demon and the god. A strange enthusiasm has moved its heart. It hungers for heights, it passions for the supreme. It hunts for the perfect word, the perfect shape. It leaps to the summit thought, the summit light. For by the form, the formless is brought close, and all perfection fringes the absolute. A child of heaven who never saw his home, its impetus meets the eternal at a point. It can only near and touch, it cannot hold. It can only strain towards some bright extreme. Its greatness is to seek and to create.
Thank you. Very good reading. Are there any questions?